Everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Couch GMs podcast. It is Monday, November 24th, 2025. I'm your host, George Kurt, joined by the one and only Cody Roadcap. And on this Thanksgiving week, I am thankful that you're back, Cody.
I'm thankful to be here. I'm sorry if you can hear my dogs barking like crazy. I don't know why every time we hit record, like it must send a signal to them to start barking, but it's good to be back. I missed you guys last week.
They must like the live button that you have that lights up over your door when you go live, right?
That's probably what it is. They must know. And my fully, fledged professional studio that I have here.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you have the 69 jersey hung up behind you. You never turn on the neon light. I don't understand.
Oh, the neon light is off. Didn't even pay attention to that. I'll turn it on Thursday.
No, you'll turn it on Wednesday because programming note, we will be here on Wednesday this week because of Thursday being Thanksgiving, so we can preview all of the Thanksgiving games and the rest of week 13. Week 13, Cody. Week 13.
Yeah, week 13. Season's almost over.
Two weeks left in the fantasy regular season. That's it.
And the Giants are already mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. So
happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Follow us at the Couch GMs, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok to get even more than you do from the show. As always, you can DM us with any fantasy questions or join us live Mondays and most weeks Thursdays, this week Wednesday at 6:30 East to get your questions answered on the air. I see we already have a question, but first off, why don't we jump in and see what's happening?
Oh, I thought you were doing the question first. You threw me for a loop.
I just wanted you to hit the button before we hit the question because then we're out of the intro. I don't know. It just felt better in my brain. I don't
know. that makes good sense.
Cool. All right. Nico on Twitch. Hey guys. Hi, how you doing? I'm 9-3 now. I'm scared to play the guy next week who has JSN and Gibbs. I don't blame you.
I agree. They've been dominant. I mean, Gibbs over the last couple weeks for sure. JSN all season long. However, if I had to give you any sign of hope or Packers and Lions have played once already this year. So if we use the last game statistics, Gibbs was not their leading rusher. It was David Montgomery with 25 yards. Gibbs had 9 carries for 19 yards. He had 10 receptions, but only 31 yards. So he had 50 yards on 19 touches in week 1. I'm expecting a little bit more of an uptake. It's not week 1. They're at home. Packers have been pretty good on defense, so maybe it's not as bad, or maybe that's just me wearing a Packers shirt being wishful thinking.
I mean, they haven't been quite as good as they were at the beginning of the season, but they've still been good. I don't expect 50 points out of Gibbs again. I'll at least give you that much. Seahawks playing the Vikings, that can kind of go either way. The Vikings defense has also been kind of good, but I feel like lately, since 9, as he calls himself, has been in there, the whole team's been struggling a little bit.
If he plays.
True.
He had the concussion pop up on the flight home, which some fans are saying is another soft benching like they did with Carson Wentz, but we'll have to progress this week and see if McCarthy's even going to go this week.
It's going to be a horrible joke, so in advance, I do not. I wish the best if he does have a concussion. Headaches, I get headaches watching him play too, so.
Oh, George. And that'll be the last episode of the Couch GMs podcast as George is getting us canceled. So thank you for tuning in. We won't be back next week. And I'm Cody Orkup. That's George Kurth. See you sometime.
Okay, let's bring up another question. I had a window to trade Bijan for Gibbs before the Penix injury, but the window's definitely closed. Still has Achane, Daddle, CMC, wide receivers, Diggs and Jennings. Rice is also injured now. I think Rice is actually going to be okay. I was going to get to him later. He's limited with a hamstring, and hamstrings are sketchy, but if it was that bad, it would have put him as DNP. So there's your first touch of injury news, as we were going to get into that shortly, but that would have been a trade I would have probably said to take. I don't think Bijan ever really hit his ceiling this year.
Yeah, I mean, if it was straight up, probably. If there was other pieces in, Like, I'm not going to kick myself. Like, Bijan has been good. I know the touchdowns haven't been as high as a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs. The Falcons now without Penix look even worse, but with Kirk Cousins back there. But Bijan's had some big games too. So I would bet like they're actually probably pretty close. They were probably closer before this week, but in terms of total points. So don't beat yourself too much. You still got a solid lineup there. And, it's always tough coming off of a week where you see a team or a player put up 50 points. He might not score 50 points in the next 4 games combined. Like, that's just the ebbs and flow of fantasy. I know we're going to talk about it later, just like the lack of elite teams, the up and downness of, the Giants taking those lines to overtime. Just like, obviously there was 500 yards of offense for both teams, but any given Sunday, anything can happen. And this has been one of the hardest, most complex fantasy seasons just to try to get a grasp on what's actually happening.
It's true. And like, I'll take full accountability for the re-breakout of Kirk Cousins. Mostly because he tried to prove me wrong, because on the Thursday show last week when I was on myself, I was basically like, I'm betting against Kirk Cousins. He has looked like a shell of himself. And then he came out and had a decent game. And if he keeps doing that down the stretch and the Falcons are competitive, I think you're going to see better out of Bijan, at least consistency wise, than we were seeing earlier in the season. And then if you honestly look at it, he can be your running back 2 in that lineup, or 3 even. I'm sorry, you have CMC. Achane also, like, I don't think I realized how much Achane was an important part of some of my teams until he was on bye this week. And I'm like, 1, filling that spot was horrible. And 2, I know I can rely on him for 15 plus every week.
Yeah, I think that's a good point with Achane. Currently half point PPR. Gibbs is the running back 3. Achane is 4. Robinson is 5. So you still have 2 of the top 5 guys. And just looking at like the stats projection, like Bijan is at 200 points, half point PPR. Jahmyr Gibbs is at 235. Only a 35-point difference. However, and this is where it's going to make up that difference, Gibbs has 7 more total touchdowns. 7 times 6 is 42. Like, that's the simple. That's the difference between those two is literally the touchdowns, and maybe they start to come for Bijan once they get back in the flow with Kirk Cousins. But you still have a solid team.
Yeah, I don't think all the touchdowns are going to keep going to London like they were previously. It seemed like every touchdown the Falcons scored was London. That can't keep up. I would hope Pitts gets a couple, and then there's going to be a lot more for Bijan as well.
All right, another question. Yo, Tet or Diggs rest of season?
I personally just can't seem to get on the Diggs and even Patriots bandwagon, and that's probably not the right way to think about it. I just, for whatever reason, cannot get behind that they're this good. And I think Diggs isn't quite the still like high end number 1 receiver that we're used to seeing. And maybe that's why in my mind I'm kind of pushing him down. But I mean, you look at Tet and he had a kind of slow start to the season. Once he got a touchdown, the floodgates started to open up. And then you look and he's wide receiver, I want to say 10 right now. And with a slow start to be a top 10 wide receiver, I don't think there's much argument that I can make other than that to say I think he's going to have a strong finish now, and I would go with him rest of season.
Yeah, so in half point PPR right now, Tet McMillan is sitting at 13, and Stephon Diggs is down at 19. So that's kind of where they're sitting. I would go with the younger guy. I know the Patriots have the better record, but I also feel like they're a team that is spreading the ball around more. Like, we've seen Mac Hollins have big weeks. We've seen Kayshon Boutte get moody. Hunter Henry gets involved. And not that the Panthers don't. I mean, you see a big touchdown to Xavier Legette every once in a while, but Tet has kind of been that security blanket. And I know we're going to talk about the Monday night game here too, and I think it's kind of hard to believe, but if the Panthers beat the 49ers tonight, they will be leading the NFC South.
Wow.
So it's, yeah, I know, like, they kind of still, I think we still forget, like, think of them as that like afterthought team. They're pretty bad, but they're playing really good football right now. And the NFC South is obviously, the Bucs have been banged up. They had a hard start, but they were making a bunch of comebacks. So yeah, for me it's definitely Tet rest of the season.
Cool. So we're on the same page with that one. I want to really quickly touch on one other question we got here. So, would you keep Pinero on IR for kicker replacement despite his hamstring injury for the playoffs? And if you're gonna have to pull someone else off of your team to put a kicker on IR, it's not worth it. I don't think it's really worth it anyway. You can find someone similar on the waiver wire regardless. Like Borgalis, I think is his name for New England, is kind of the guy that's kind of breaking out right now, or someone like that. And I would think you can probably even get Pinero back later if you wanted to.
I guess I took this question as like, would you waste an IR spot for a kicker more than like, would you go pick him up and maybe you, and if you have it, sure. Like, I don't mind putting a kicker in your IR spot, but like, if you're already at the max and you got to sub someone out, unless it's like a Brandon Ayuk who probably isn't coming back this year, or Joe
Or
Mixon,
Joe Mixon, yeah.
who is not coming back this year, or maybe he is, depending on which Twitter you believe. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, we all know I'm not a big fan of kickers in fantasy football anyway. So I think that, any given week, any kicker could be the top scorer, which makes it a hard position to game plan for. So this is honestly more thought than I've ever thought about a kicker in fantasy. But if you have the open IR spot, sure.
Definitely. That's I would say open IR spot, yes. If you're kicking somebody else off, no. So we're good there. In the news, we have the Browns announcing that they're keeping Shadur Sanders as their starting quarterback, even though they had Dylan Gabriel clearing concussion protocol. I mean, after the win and the bump he gave to the team, I think he definitely deserves his shot, especially because they're trying to figure out where they're at the quarterback position before, going into next year's draft with a pretty solid draft position.
They got to win. He gets another chance to start. I mean, it seems to make sense. He was definitely the more talented quarterback, in my opinion, between the two. I know Gabriel was drafted higher, so he got the first opportunity. The offense never looked great with him. I'm not saying Sanders had a great game. He had a pretty bad interception, but they got the win, gave him a little bit of a spark. Would not be surprised. I think it's the right move to keep rolling with him.
It's the right move to keep rolling with him because, I mean, the fan base wanted it. The team seemed to respond to it. So, yes, I agree. That was the way to go. But we still have to remember that they beat the second worst team in the league. So it's not like it was that impressive of a win, but it's good that they saw something out of the offense they haven't been seeing.
And then that team also went on and fired Chip Kelly, their offense coordinator. So
I think all their coordinators are gone at this point. I don't know why Pete Carroll came out of retirement, but it's not working out too well for him.
I'm interested to see if he gets I feel like if you hire a guy like Pete Carroll, you don't do him one and done.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very interested to see what happens in Las Vegas.
Yeah. If he retires again because they're like mutual agreement kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting for sure.
We'll see. That'll be news for later into the offseason and even, I guess, into the playoffs at that point. But we have a couple of Thursday reports that already started coming out. So for the Bengals, T. Higgins will not be playing on Thursday. He suffered a concussion in that game on Sunday, and they're not expecting him to clear protocol, so they ruled him out. But Joe Burrow, though they're paving the path for him to return versus the Ravens this week. They are a 3-win team that would have to win out to get to 9-8. I don't see the reason for doing this, but they're all in doing it.
Because the Bengals are blowing this team up next year. T. Higgins is going to get cut because of his contract. They're going to trade Joe Burrow to the Jets.
Okay, that's a crazy one.
And Jamar Chase is going to be like, why am I still here? I want out. Trey Hendrickson's going to be gone. It's just going to be a wild. It's going to be a wild. You thought last year was wild for the Bengals. Just wait for this year. And honestly, yeah, I don't know. I'm just talking out my butt right now. I don't know why they're bringing Joe Burrow back. This team, like if they could upset the Patriots, which they were close to doing, beating a high-end team, getting a win, if they would have beat the Steelers the week prior, I believe they played, or maybe that was 2 weeks down at this point, like didn't drop to the Jets, didn't drop to the Bears. I get bringing Joe Burrow back, but it feels like he's coming back early, although they at least did the smart thing and kept him out an additional week last week. But yeah, it feels like an odd situation to bring him back in to. But I guess like from Joe Burrow's perspective, he thinks he's healthy enough to play. Like he wants to play despite the record. So I just don't know if I would do it if that was truly the face of my franchise. I'd understand where I am and move on. But on the other hand, Zach Taylor is coaching for his job. So I guess there is if we get to 8-9, you know, does that save his job because Joe Burrow missed so much time?
Potentially. And I mean, maybe they let the coach make this decision just because they know he's coaching for his job. But the other thing that goes against him is the fact that I don't think Burrow is going to fix their problem. Like Flacco obviously has his issues. He's turning the ball over a little bit this year, but like he's doing fine. The offense is doing fine. The defense is still their problem. Would Burrow have gotten an extra win or two if he was playing? Maybe. But still yet, we're questioning if this team's going to be a playoff team with how it's been going.
I got to go to the Bengals schedule. I know
upcoming schedule. They have 2 with the Ravens still. I know that. In 2 and 3 weeks, I want to say.
I think so. And they've played Pittsburgh twice. They probably have a game against the Browns.
I think their game against the Browns in the final week of the season. I want to say they have the Bills coming up as well. I was looking at this earlier, and I'm just trying to pull off the top of my head to talk while you're looking.
Yeah, so you're right. It's Ravens this week, Thanksgiving. Then it's Bills the following week. A game that actually got flexed from the 4 o'clock window to the 1 o'clock window. So goes to tell you what you think about that. Ravens again. So that's that 3 games. But if they can get through that, I know that's a big if. They end with Dolphins, Cardinals, Browns. 3 winnable games there. So I guess maybe we're writing them off to like that loss to the Bears is really going to come back to haunt them. That collapse against the Jets is really going to come back to haunt them. If they could have won one of those games where that they could have just split with the Ravens, then to have a chance to still be above 500, you'd feel better about their chances. But if they're going to make a run, it has to start this week. So more power to them. I guess the good news is you beat the Ravens twice. That only puts you a game behind them, and then you're still 3 games behind the I don't
see. The problem is the Steelers in this whole entire thing. Like they have a chance to basically take care of their gap with the Ravens and have a tiebreaker on them, but you need to pass the Steelers, not even tie them. And right now, the Steelers and Ravens are tied.
Yeah.
Like there's a realistic world where they can go 9-8 and have this miraculous comeback at the end of the season and still not make the playoffs. Because not only are you chasing the other team between the Ravens and Steelers, you're also chasing the Chiefs. You're also chasing the Jaguars. Like those are all teams that are still 3 games up on you.
Yeah, I guess the good news is they split the series with the Steelers. So it could come down to division record if they beat the Ravens twice. That might give them the edge.
They would need help from the Ravens probably. Because they would need that to be a split with the Steelers. I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah, but literally the Chiefs, Texans, Steelers, Ravens all have a 3-game lead on them, and that's with the Bills, Jaguars, and Chargers already in second place in their division with a 4-game lead. So
yeah. Actually, okay. I want to go back to your talking about the Bengals trading Burrow to the Jets because this comment got me. Can you imagine the Vikings with Joe Burrow? If the Vikings make that trade,
they don't have any picks, so
they don't. But if they found a way,
I mean, there was already reports. Was it 2 years ago when there was the Justin Jefferson drama that they were trying to get Justin Jefferson in there to like rebuild the? I think that's more likely, to be honest with you.
Jefferson to the Bengals.
Yeah, the Bengals decide to keep it. They go fire Zach Taylor, hire Joe Brady, go trade for Justin Jefferson, and just try to put the LSU squad back together.
Now, you were already talking about the fact that they have no cap or anything to build a defense. Could you imagine if they have all that money sunk into Burrow, Jefferson, and Chase?
Defense, they'll figure that out.
Well, they haven't figured it out yet, so they're not going to figure it out. I think they're just going to hope it's not a problem.
They're just going to go with the mindset we're going to score 40. And
that hasn't even been enough lately.
But they don't have Jefferson.
47-42.
They don't have Jefferson.
They're going to score 50, which that offense would be fantastic, but that's unrealistic.
No. The Bengals are just a mess. Let's just put it that way.
We have to have Chance on the show at some point to see what
he doesn't want to talk about the Bengals.
I can't say I blame him.
So he's on the basketball season, which he's also a Bucks fan, and they're having an okay start. But the big rumor is Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to get traded at the deadline or at the end of the season and completely put Milwaukee out of contention for a while. So he's going through it right now.
I'm sorry to him, but there's your 30 seconds of basketball talk.
How about 12-game win streak for the Detroit Pistons, though?
Baker Mayfield left the game early on Sunday night with a low-grade AC joint sprain. The good news is it's his non-throwing shoulder, and it is considered low-grade after the scan. So chance he could come back in and play next week. And knowing Baker, he will, because he is one tough son of a gun.
Yeah, he'll play. Jordan Love's dealing with the same thing right now. If you remember, he left for a couple plays. The Giants came, he was able to come back, but it was determined it was a separated shoulder, which is interesting because if you watched him play against the Vikings, he handed the ball off with the wrong hand. If it was supposed to go, supposed to be with your left hand, he would still do it with the right hand because he was trying to protect the shoulder.
Yeah,
which makes watching football a little odd because it's like that doesn't look right, but it worked. So, but yeah, Baker's a tough dude. He'll be back.
Yeah, exactly. Alvin Kamara left the Saints game early with a knee sprain. I have a feeling we're still getting close to seeing the end of Kamara, but he wants to stay in New Orleans, so we'll see how long they ride it out with him.
Yeah, I think the offseason might change that for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. And then rookie running back Ashton Genty, he also left the Raiders game early with an ankle injury. Early report was he could have returned to that game, but they did not have him return because the score was a little out of hand. It was near the end. So we're keeping an eye on injury reports for him going into this week, as he's been somebody who kind of broke out again after I doubted him as well this week.
Yeah, he's just a tough one because they score so little points.
Mm-hmm.
So he might, still have decent yardage, but it's hard for him to have a good fantasy day because the Raiders have struggled so much.
It's been the same problem with Bowers. So you could have said I told you so. I would have understood.
Hey, we move on.
A good piece of news for you here. Do you remember 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Jaden Daniels' arm going in the wrong direction because he dislocated his elbow?
Yeah, I do.
They reevaluated him after the bye week. He is going to practice this week, but he's a long shot for week 13. He's not going to go on IR. It sounds like there's a good shot he's back week 14. That would be 3 weeks post dislocated elbow. That's absolutely crazy to me, and it doesn't make sense in my mind.
Well, I know they said he didn't tear anything, so they just had to pop that thing back in place.
Also is crazy to me, actually.
So, yeah, I mean, for my one fantasy team, I hope he does come back because he was my quarterback. And then I had to pick up Joe Flacco, which has been hit or miss. And then
now it's missed because Burrow's back.
Burrow's going to come back. So I cut Joe Flacco. And then I couldn't get him back when they said, Burrow's not actually going to play this week despite practicing in full. And then I had to play JJ McCarthy this week because
What league are you in? Left with JJ McCarthy.
One that people have hold too many quarterbacks.
Okay. I can tell.
0.8 points, bro.
At least 9 got positive.
Yeah. I don't know how, but he did.
I don't know how either. Shout out to Jaden Daniels for coming back hopefully soon, and for Cody's fantasy team, holding on hope that he gets it back for the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, and I think I might even win that week in that league because I think
Yeah,
I have
Jameer
Gibbs.
Gibbs.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. The answer is if I won that week when I wasn't supposed to. The answer is either you face Josh Allen or you have Jameer Gibbs.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson is a DNP on Monday with a toe injury this time. So we're moving down the leg. We started with a knee. Last
If
week
you
it was
believe
an
the
ankle, and
Ravens.
now it's a toe.
Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. That's what Lamar Jackson is this year.
Pretty much. I mean, I saw him go out on the field this week with 2 ankles heavily taped. So he's 100% not feeling right. You can tell he's not running as explosive as he usually is. And so hopefully, like, he starts to get it together before the fantasy playoffs come, because he's also been struggling in that case. And the Ravens offense, despite winning, has not been good lately. But they have a good matchup this week, but it is a short week. Let's see if Lamar can get it together against a bad defense.
Yeah, last bit of injury news. You touched on it. Racy Rice, limited participant with the hamstring injury, but limited. So not missing any time. Hopefully doesn't miss any game time because they need him and they need wins. And they were able to squeak one out against the Colts this past week. So,
man, they stole that game.
The Lions also stole their game from the Giants, who now
did. Jameer Gibbs stole their game from the Giants.
The Giants, what was it, 4 or 5 all-time or 10-plus point fourth quarter leads blown this season alone.
I thought that was the Ravens' job.
No, not this year. It's the Giants.
Yeah, seriously.
Who also fired their defensive coordinator now too. So they're right up there with the Raiders of just, hey, we're getting rid of everybody.
It's true. Can I just also hit you with here though? Jameis Winston was the most fun player to watch on Sunday. How he caught a touchdown on what he looked like a receiver when he caught that touchdown. He threw a touchdown on a double reverse. Like, the Giants' offense was fun, actually.
I cannot wait to next year when I can play Jameis in my tight end spot.
He's going to be the next Taysom Hill.
No, he's going to be better than Taysom Hill.
As a Taysom Hill backer, I actually kind of agree with you.
Taysom Hill, I still don't understand how we are now 2 head coaches away from Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm.
And this man still has like a full package.
Yep.
Like, I got it with Dennis Allen. He was, the defensive coordinator when Sean Payton retired the first time in New Orleans. So I got it. Kellen Moore brought his own system in from LA, Philly, Dallas, wherever. And they're like, you know what? X Factor, Taysom Hill.
Yeah. Like, he's been successful, but has he been successful enough for you to really keep scheming stuff up for him? It's a good point. Like, every time that you've said he's going to get traded to, wherever Sean Payton is, like, that makes sense to me, because it was like Sean Payton's darling, but no, he just keeps getting used. At this point, he's not getting used enough to be relevant in fantasy, which stinks, because I liked being able to play him at tight end and hopefully you can randomly get that 20-point game out of him, but it hasn't been the case lately.
Unless it's just like intentional tanking, and that's how they're doing it, is through Taysom Hill now.
And enough people have used Taysom Hill enough that you don't notice it as intentional tanking.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Cody. There's a fan question, but I want you to jump into our reality check first. All right. In this segment, we usually react to things that have happened throughout the previous week with some questions. And I think this question actually can kind of still work with what we're doing here. So, Gold Digger, great name, by the way, on YouTube. Who is your guys' offensive rookie of the year? Is Dart even in consideration with missing games?
No. I don't think Dart's. I mean, Dart was a fun story, but the team itself won 2 games. So
I think Scattaboo had a shot if he kept going on the trajectory, but obviously getting hurt didn't help.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to go. I mean, I still think it's Ibuka. I know he's slowed down.
I think Tet can make a push if the Panthers keep making a push and he keeps getting better. But right now, I think it's Ibuka.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, who is the top quarterback. I mean, it wasn't Dart.
Cam
Not.
Ward has not been good enough. He's getting better, but he's not good enough.
I mean, do you want to? Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be. I mean, it could be DK from Tennessee, all-purpose yards leader, but no one's going to give it to a punt return kick returner, even though he had a second punt return for a touchdown.
He's a victim of the market also. Just the fact that he's on the Titans, and then the Titans aren't good. When the Titans are good, they, can do enough to, like obviously Derrick Henry is a good example of that. But right now, like in that market, you're not going to get enough hype to get that kind of reward.
Yeah,
I'm going, I think Ibuka, but Tet's a close second, and I think Tet has a major opportunity to pass him.
I think I would put. I get Tet. I think I'd put Tyler Warren second.
That's a good name too.
He's been kind of a revelation for the Colts. Like Daniel Jones going to get a lot of credit. He's probably going to win comeback player of the year. But
I also
Tyler,
think Jonathan Taylor doesn't help his cause either, because people, when they think Colts, they think Jonathan Taylor.
yeah, but I think he might be up there. And then maybe a sleeper could be Quinshon Judkins. He had some big games, but I think he would be down there with like your Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterboot conversation. Like Dart probably gets it over like a Judkins just because he's a quarterback.
Yeah,
But I don't think he's a realistic shot for. I think it'll be a 3-man race between Ibuka, Tet, and Warren at this point. Those would probably be your finalists.
I like those names there, and I'm glad you brought up Warren, because I had also completely forgotten about Warren, and he's had a very solid year so far, as well as many of the Colts. I don't know if you want to revisit this conversation, but I feel like it warrants revisiting, as the Bears are now 8-3, leading their division, have a shot at the number 1 seed in the NFC at this point. Did the Bears win over the Steelers with Mason Rudolph at quarterback make you believe that they are finally real?
No. Look, I'm not going to apologize for winning. You beat the teams you're on your schedule, and they've done that 8 out of the 11 times. It's impressive. Ben Johnson's doing a phenomenal job. But if you watch the games, there's still a bunch of inconsistency from Caleb Williams. There's still a lot of comebacks. There was a collapse, against the Giants as well. You got to play Mason Rudolph. Maybe if they would have beat Aaron Rodgers, just got over that hump, maybe I would have gave them a little bit more. But even that game, like if the Steelers could just line up on the right way and not have the wide receiver cover the tight end, that game probably goes to overtime on the base.
The Gainwell got a touchdown called back, right?
That might have been earlier in the game, but on that like last drive, Rudolph had like a 25, 30-yard run, take him into like Bears territory. It was on 3rd down, got called back, became like a 3rd and 14, I believe, somewhere in that range. Bears fans are like, no, it was 3rd and whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, people line up on the wrong side, and it happens. You got the win. Don't apologize for it. Their upcoming schedule, though, is going to be a real test. They get the Eagles on Friday, the Black Friday game on Amazon, so you're not in the stores buying from anyone else but Amazon. Then they get a 2 games or 2 times in 3 weeks against the Packers. Then they have the Browns in between the Packers. Could that be a trap game because of the 2 division rivals? TBD. We'll have to see. Hope they should beat the Browns. I expect them to beat that.
That's the easiest game left on their schedule.
And it's San Francisco and Detroit to finish out the season. So they still have 3 division games. They have Philadelphia. I mean, I still think at this point they're going to get to 10 wins, and that'll be an incredible season for them. They'll probably still, I think they're probably going to still win the NFC North. I didn't think I was going to say that coming into the season. I think just because the Packers and the Lions have tough schedules too, and they already have the lead here. Now, if they drop both to Green Bay, that's going to be be different, but they'll probably split.
Yeah, I think they split with Green Bay. The Eagles, even though they're struggling on offense, is a tough game. And the 49ers should be healthier by the time they come around to there. And the Lions, I don't think the Lions are as bad as they've looked the last few weeks. Like, that is a very hard 6 final games of the season. And shout out to the last time we had this conversation, the Bears fans who were commenting on it saying, like, no, I realize that we're not the best team in the NFC and we're not elite, but we're having a great year. And I agree with that. You're having a fantastic year. But there's a lot of Bears fans that I think are getting super defensive about, like, I don't care who we won. We're currently the 2 seed and we're going to win multiple playoffs. Like, no, that's not the realistic situation the Bears are in now. They had the benefit of the schedule. I think they're a solid team, but when they come up against playoff teams, I think you're going to see the cracks forming, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Like Cody said, Caleb Williams is still making dumb mistakes and he's still growing as a quarterback. And I think I'm getting more faith that Caleb Williams has the shot to be a legit starting quarterback in the NFL, something I didn't believe watching last year. And that coaching move for Ben Johnson has been a big help to that, but they're not there yet. So yeah. I'm interested to have this conversation again as we're going into the playoffs, and they're either, won their division as a 3 seed or they're a wild card, to see, like, where do we really think they rank in the NFC at that point?
Yeah, and we're talking a lot about the NFC, but that week 17 matchup against the 49ers, that one's going to be big on the schedule, in my opinion, because when we did the predictions, not at the beginning of the year, but a couple weeks ago, we started talking about it. Like, we had the Bears just missing it, the 49ers, like the last team in, then they got more banged up. And now I think that could easily be flipped. And like I said, the Bears still might win the division just because of, how the schedule has gone. They haven't lost since October 26th. They've almost gone a month without losing, and that was their only loss since week 2. So like they're playing really good football right now against subpar teams, but you can't control who's on your schedule. You just have to play and win the games. This stretch though will tell us legit if they're going to, be a good team. The schedule is so tough that they could finish the season with 9 wins and not too many people will be surprised, but they could also, do well, beat the Packers twice or split with them, beat the Lions. Eagles, how do they do coming off their blown 21-point lead against Dallas? Like, maybe they get all the way up to 13 wins. They win 5 of this last 6. Like, there's that possibility as well. So Bears, very interesting. Couple questions to talk about. We kind of hit on this. Cole Digger also asked, Kamara's career over. I don't know if it's over. I'm thinking that he gets moved on from this offseason, maybe makes a second run, whether that's in Dallas, stays in the South. I'll throw Kansas City out there again. They were interested in him at the trade deadline. And then Nico said, I wish the Steelers kept Kenny Pickett. He was a Pitt alumni, and now he's never going to play with the Eagles again.
He is on the Raiders now, so that shows you how much he's been playing.
So,
yeah.
And then let's just, stay in the NFC North. Does Jordan Reed coming back make the Packers elite? Well, Jaden Reed. It fascinates me. I don't know if I'm ready to say they're going to be elite. I mean, I would be definitely called a hypocrite after the tangent I just went on about the Bears if I was going to say getting Jaden Reed back was going to make them elite. But we could play the devil's advocate game. They're a blocked kick and 2 blocked kicks and 2 missed field goals away from being undefeated in Green Bay. But that's a different topic for a different day. What fascinates me is not only getting him back, but getting Matthew Golden back and getting him more involved in the offense, getting Josh Jacobs back. Now that they've started to, dive more into, they had to reshuffle their offensive line. They're playing more with a 6 offensive lineman as to help the run game now that Tucker Kraft is gone. Like, to see their evolution and get these players back, it fascinates me, but I don't know if I'm ready to say Jaden Reed himself is going to make them elite.
Yeah, I don't think Jaden Reed himself makes them elite. I think Jaden Reed has a chance to make them elite if they didn't also lose Tucker Craft. Because I think that really, if you're not going to have that number one dynamic guy, having a group that complements so well and that you can do multiple different things with really helps. And Reed helps to fill that void that Kraft left. And I think you made a really good point about this 2 weeks ago when you were talking, Cody, how like Kraft and Reed do similar things, but having at least one of them back would be very helpful to open up that middle of the field for the Packers. But I think they would have a chance to be elite if, I mean, they could get more consistent pass rush and then they could have both of them. But that's obviously not a realistic situation, being that Kraft's out for the year. And I actually wanted to even expand this question because I had it on a reality check, which is funny. Is there even a true NFL team right now that is elite? Like, is there any elite team right now? Because it seems like everybody has some kind of a problem.
No. There's
There's
no,
one that I would argue for.
it's the Rams.
Yes.
That's where I was debating. If I'm
Mhm.
The Rams are playing elite football right now, but I don't always they also could be peaking too soon, which we've seen in the past. Like we're still only in November. I mean, again, they're playing really good football. They're an overtime loss and a blocked field goal away from being undefeated too. So like we want to play the hypothetical games. We can do that with them as well. They're the team that I'm looking at, but there's not a team in the AFC for sure. And then every other team that I can think of in the NFC has question marks. Whether it's the Eagles' still inability to rush the passer and their inconsistency on offense, whether it's Green Bay's inconsistency on offense and lack of explosive playmakers at the moment, whether it's the Lions' inconsistency on offense and now their defense gave up 500 yards to the Giants. Like, are they unraveling? The Buffalo Bills, they have been an up and down roller coaster. The Colts, Jonathan Taylor has slowed down a little bit. How much do you really believe in Daniel Jones? Uh,
The
I
Seahawks, actually, another one that
the
is a sleeper.
They're a sleeper too, but I think the same questions until they overcome it is going to be week 15, 16, and 17 with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I mean, I can't put them up there because of Sam Darnold. Their defense is legitimately probably considered elite, but their offense, I think, has question marks. So,
No, for sure. And another question you had here on reality check, and I'll use the Seahawks, was if you had to pick one player in fantasy football to lead your team into the playoffs right now, who would it be? My pick would be Jackson Smith and Jigba.
that is probably not my first choice, but I get why you're saying it because if you look at a lot of these other guys on other teams, there's a couple of them that it's like they're legit in fantasy this year, but maybe there's another guy on that team that could be the guy that week. Like that's your argument against Puka because Devontae Adams has been fantastic. The other guy who's legit the best guy on his team is Jonathan Taylor, but JSN is like the undisputed go-to guy for the Seahawks.
Yeah. I mean, he already has 80 receptions on the season, 1,300 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. He gets a deep shot every game. Uh, so that would be my pick as the guy. I can understand if you wanted to pick a Jonathan Taylor, still leads all fantasy players in scoring,
Mhm.
a Jahmyr Gibbs, or heck, even a Christian McCaffrey. Like I would get that. But for me, it would be JSN.
Yeah, my pick when I first put this question down, I thought it was going to be Jonathan Taylor, but I'm kind of worried about how teams have found ways to shut him down the last 3 weeks now. And then my pick went to Jahmyr Gibbs because the explosiveness, like, I don't think there's ever going to be a game where you don't see at least one explosive play out of him. Honestly, the Lions had a very bad game on offense against the Eagles, but Jahmyr Gibbs still went off because the only person that could find space and make big plays was him. So now seeing that kind of, reinforced my thought of like the odds of seeing a Gibbs bust game coming down the stretch is a lot lower than some of these other players.
Yeah, and I guess with like a JSN, you have if they get out big on somebody, it limits his opportunity. Where if the Lions get out big, they're still going to run the ball. Um,
Mhm.
unless like I guess the counter argument would be like, does David Montgomery start to get more involved as they're not going to play outside, but if they want to run the ball more or something like that, would be interested. I appreciate everyone in the chat, going off, especially Gold Digger here. Got to careful I say that though. He
Yeah.
wanted to. He threw out there when we were talking about elite teams. The Patriots are good too, just boring to watch, and they have a legit defense. So I agree. The Patriots are good. They also kind of feel a little bit Chicago bearish to me, though. I mean, they're winning, but their schedule makes it lackluster for me to get super excited about it. Again, you got to beat who's on your schedule. You can't control that. That's what they're doing. But like even like only putting up 26 points on the Bengals. 26 points is a good week. Not against the Bengals.
Yeah, like I'm trying to see loss to the Steelers. Steelers are a good team, but I don't know. The beating of the Bills was good. That was their signature win. They also beat the Buccaneers, which is obviously another great win. I can even argue they have better wins than the Bears do, but like I said, that's not the Bears' fault. Bears have to play who's on their schedule. Same with the
Right.
Patriots. But they did have a lot of fluff in their schedule with the Saints, the Titans, the Browns, the Falcons, who they actually barely beat. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have a good defense. You knew that with Mike Vrabel being there. And Drake May has played incredible football at times too. So
No, they're definitely going to be a team that should at least get a bye at this point, win their division, and then we'll see where they can go from there. But they're a young team that, like, even if they do have a second round playoff exit, was a successful year for them. And Vrabel really did turn the franchise around after it was sputtering since Brady left.
yeah, I mean he would have to be in consideration for coach of the year.
He should be.
Yeah, I would say it's him. McVay's going to get some love as well, and then I'd throw Dave Canales in there. It's because the Panthers are playing really good right now.
No, we did not have the Patriots over the Bills to start the season. The Patriots have been a surprise to me.
George had Miami over the Bills.
I had Miami. I completely missed.
And it's still like the Patriots. They have 3 very winnable games left between, so they're going to have a bye week 14. So they already have played one more game than a lot of teams. They're going to play the Monday night game against the Giants. They should win that one. But then the 2 weeks after that are coming off their bye week. They get the Bills and the Ravens. Those will be 2 important games because if the Bills win out and the Patriots drop both of them, I don't know the exact tiebreakers, but they would finish the same record splitting the series. They'd probably win because they have a better conference record because the Bills lost one to the Dolphins. But there's still an outside shot that the Bills can get the playoffs. That's all I wanted to say. Or get the number 1 spot in the AFC North.
Yeah, that would be interesting. For sure. I'd have to check the division tiebreakers, and where I'm at does not have the divisional tiebreakers, but they would need to the Bills would at least need to beat the Patriots that second game to make it a possibility. Yes. This is a fun question. Do we believe Mac Jones could become a franchise quarterback at some point? If so, which team?
Franchise quarterback, like a team commits to him for more than 3 to 5 years.
I'm assuming the rebound, like the Sam Darnold and Geno Smith kind of deal.
Gold Digger add in that he does, and he thinks the Raiders. Honestly, I think it's going to be the Minnesota Vikings. They're going to do the same. They took Sam Darnold from San Francisco when he was the backup. They're going to take him, let him compete with JJ McCarthy. And the way Mac Jones has played this year, the Vikings would be so much better. Like JJ McCarthy is playing such bad football right now that I think him on the Minnesota Vikings would help alleviate the. They probably won't have to give him a ton of money. It'd probably be. I think that's where he would go, and that would give him the best shot to win. Like I'd rather go to Minnesota and play with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Kevin O'Connell, than go to the Raiders, even though I might have a better chance to start. But like play with Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty. Who knows who my coach is? Offensive coordinator's fired. Like That'd be my top choice if I was him, or just stay in San Francisco and being a high-paid backup because Brock Purdy has shown that he can't stay healthy.
I mean, that's true. And I mean, maybe the 49ers start to prioritize that backup quarterback spot, knowing that Purdy's had injury issues and knowing that if you have the right backup on that team and that scheme, because Shanahan has one of the best schemes in the league, you can still go complete for a Super Bowl the way that they did with Purdy a few years ago when he was the third string Mr. Irrelevant. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. The other team I was going to throw out is the Jets, because the Jets seem like they're going to keep trying to retread. And I don't think it would be as successful and like make him become a franchise quarterback, but I do think the Jets would be the team that would give him a shot.
Yeah. Again, would you rather be the Jets starting quarterback or a high-paid backup for the 49ers?
I would probably rather be the backup on the 49ers.
So that's where I would go with that one. We jumped all around these questions, so I don't even know which ones we hit and which ones we haven't.
I think we can honestly leave it. I think we hit pretty much everyone I wanted to talk about on here.
Oh, has Matt Stafford earned your MVP vote? I said he was the MVP 2 weeks ago. That has not changed.
Agreed. Cool. We'll keep that one short and sweet. We can sprinkle in a couple more fan questions in if you want, and we have the waiver wire still to hit. So I'll let you decide what order we go into, Mr. Button Pusher.
Why don't we just continue with this theme? I will hit the button, and then we'll go right into a fan question.
Cool. Forgot to take that other question out. Sorry about that. All right. Next question we got. I'm a big CMC fan. Due to his injury history, how many more years do you think he still has before his body gives up?
I think this is a two-part answer.
Okay.
How many more years does he have being elite? And how many years does he have being... I think Christian McCaffrey with his skill set could probably play another 5-6 years if he wanted to. However, I think the wear and tear on his body is high. I think the injuries are a concern. He's stayed healthy and hopefully he continues to do so, knock on wood, this year. But he turns the magical number of a running back 30 June of this upcoming year, or I guess in 2026. So before the start of next season. So I don't know what it is, but we've seen time and time again, outside of maybe Derrick Henry and maybe Adrian Peterson. I don't remember when he had his bounce back year. Once they hit 30 in the modern NFL, they go downhill with his injuries. So I would ride Christian McCaffrey as you can this year, and maybe you risk it next year. But after next year, I think the reign of elite Christian McCaffrey is over.
I'm interested to see if he's going to be the guy that tries to go out on top, like before he really breaks down, or if he is committed to, like, because he's a good pass catching back, you can find a use for him on a competing team with a complement back, and he could still play 5 or 6 years, like you said. Because we've seen guys like that, and maybe it's not a great comparison because they're obviously different body type and stuff, but like Darren Sproles type player, where he played into his 30s and he would literally just like take a couple goal line carries where he was like hiding behind the offensive line and pokes through, but he would basically just be used on third downs, chip and catch, and run screens, and like that was his entire game. And like I think Christian McCaffrey could adapt his game to be primarily that if he's willing to, you know, go away from being the every down back and, you know, just grind it out for a few more years. But I think realistically, I agree with your number of 2 years at his level, and then we'll see if he decides to hang it up or kind of change his role.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I think he'll have a role for it, whether it's like even just like what Austin Eckler was doing in Washington.
Another good example. Yes.
Obviously, Eckler's only 30 now, but I think there'll be a spot for him, and it'll probably be in San Fran with Kyle Shanahan until he's ready to hang it up.
Yeah, I think Shanahan would be more than happy to change his role up if he still could be helpful to that scheme.
For sure. All right. What do we got next?
We're on the waiver wire. I'll try to hit some things really quick. So reminder here, anyone under 60% owned on NFL.com is eligible for this one. And I'm going to start off with the man who jumped from my streams to my waiver wire. Jacoby Brissett has just been good since he's gotten the starting quarterback job.
I like that you just said good. Like, not great, but good. And
I mean, solid floor, modest ceiling.
this also a tough week because now, this is a full week of games, no bye weeks, because you have the 3 games on Thanksgiving, the game on Black Friday, game on Monday Night Football. So a lot of games across the weekend, but there's no spot. So for me, like, I agree putting Brissett on there. If you liked, obviously I'd played McCarthy, so some leagues are different than others. But this week, I still think you could find 12 better quarterbacks to play.
The problem is there's going to be some teams that are holding more than one of those Like, for example, in our league of record, I currently am rostering Matt Stafford, Jared Goff, and Jackson Dart. They could be 3 of the people that are the 12 over Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, don't be that guy. Drop some quarterbacks, bro. I'm telling Marcus.
It's not a dynasty, bro.
Only George got the joke. That was an inside joke, and I'm sorry for everyone listening there. But yeah, Brissett, great person to pick up.
Running backs, I'll hit you with all of them. We can just kind of react on the fly here. Trey Benson, hopefully coming back off of IR really soon. He was down to 55% owned on NFL.com. I think people started adding Bam Knight and dropping him as like a necessity. So somebody to go out there and check. Kyle Monungai was actually the 1A to the 1B of DeAndre Swift in Chicago this week. So if starting running back should be owned. Same with the Devin Neal ad here. Alvin Kamara, we don't know if he's going to miss time with the knee injury. I don't personally love playing anyone on the Saints right now, but if he's a starting running back, he should be owned. And then same with Chris Rodriguez, who's currently leading the charge in Washington. Despite us wanting it to be Bill, Chris Rodriguez has been the most successful back.
Yeah, I like all those. And then, of course, I'm just going to throw out a guy you talked about last week, still under 40% owned, Emmanuel Wilson. If Josh Jacobs doesn't go this week, he had 28 attempts, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns in relief. So if you need a spot start, and the good news is he's the first game. So if Jacobs goes, then you're not going to play him, and you can cut him and move on for someone else. Or if you're a Jacobs owner and you want to hold him in case the knee injury re-aggravates in Ford Field, that's also worth monitoring.
It's definitely one of the more, even if Jacobs goes, he's going to be one of the more coveted handcuffs down the stretch, because I think he's now proven that he can have the potential to be a savior or league winner if Jacobs goes down.
All right, and this wide receiver waiver wire is
not great.
That's why I stopped talking. I have the list in front of me. I could read it, and then I just got sad.
Troy Franklin headlines my not so great waiver wire for receivers. I mean,
this
he's
is like
been
the fourth
solid,
time he's been on the waiver wire list. So that just needs to tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah. I have Andre Ishivash on here because there's no T. Higgins this week, so potential guy to throw out there. And then Parker Washington, who has been on here a couple of times like Troy Franklin. And obviously, I don't know if Brian Thomas Jr. comes back and if that affects Parker Washington, but especially if he ends up being the guy still, he's at least flex worthy. Maybe a guy you don't add on the wire initially, but if you end up finding out you need someone later and there's no Brian Thomas, he's somebody you could at least add to start.
Yep. And I'll just throw one more name out there, and I don't even love this name, but John Mechie III of the New York Jets has back-to-back week in double-digit points, half-point PPR. Granted, he has a touchdown each of those last week, so that has bolstered him. But he saw 7 targets and 6 catches for 86 yards with Tyrod Taylor as the quarterback. So maybe that is worth monitoring as well.
Maybe a good future ad. Like if you're in a dynasty, the Jets are going to need somebody to keep building around Garrett Wilson. And I think it's right now a battle between Mechie and Ad Mitchell.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not worried about Mechie at all, dynasty-wise. They'll be drafting people, signing people, and stuff like that. But it caught my eye because of Tyrod Taylor being the starter. He has been more involved. So
Yeah, it's the same reason why I have Troy Franklin and Parker Washington on here. They've been involved, but they're not exciting.
yep, it's like saying play Flanoy because he had one good game.
Let me pull up the Bengals depth chart really quick because I do see a comment on here about Ishivash, who has not really been the greatest this week.
You want Tinsley?
Yes, Mitch Tinsley is the other guy that you can keep an eye on, and he actually legitimately plays behind T. Ishivash is a slot, so he's kind of on there with both. But like Tinsley had a decent game when he was basically the only guy left because they were down Chase, and then T. Higgins, got hurt with the concussion in that game. So maybe he's the guy, or at least in really cheap and some DFS lineups is a great move too.
Yeah, I mean they're going to get Chase back, and Chase going to get Pepper with targets. So
yeah, it's true. He's going to be right back up to 18. So
he'll be having a quarterback stat line again.
My gosh. Yeah, maybe he'll even throw a pass because he's done that before too. We'll see what happens. Predictions for tonight's game. Yes, we're going to do a Monday night preview right now. Panthers at 49ers tonight.
Yeah, a game that does not seem good on paper, but I talked about this Panthers. I mean, they're 7.5-point underdogs. But if they win, I believe they'll have taken over the lead in the NFC South, which is kind of crazy. But it should be a fun game. Over under 49 points, I believe.
49.5, yep.
So Rico Dotto playing really well still. Ted McMillan, expect him to have a good game. CMC revenge game, he'll get his for sure.
Yeah, I think if we're doing the good old question of you have $100 to put on an anytime touchdown, who are you putting it on? The answer, if you just want to convert it, is CMC in the revenge game. He's obviously been the best player of this group. My sleeper pick, and I mean, I had said this on Thursday, and I guess I'm going to die on this hill. I have a good feeling about Ricky Pearsall making the rebound.
Okay. You know what? Hang on. I need to go on a little tangent.
Okay.
How often are you on X on a football Sunday?
On a Sunday, normally I'm just kind of like seeing our, insiders notifications, not really digging too deep.
Okay, well, I don't know if you've noticed this then.
Okay.
But the NFL, for some reason, has been posting highlights of previous games. So, for example, yesterday I'm scrolling through X while I'm on a red zone commercial because they got them now. And I see George Kittle has 2 touchdowns against whatever team. And I'm like, I didn't even know the 49ers are playing right now. I went and looked at my team that has George Kittle, see how many points he had. It said 0. Plays Monday night. I'm like, why is the NFL posting this right now? This is confusing. So they need to knock that off. Sorry.
Were they promoting Monday Night Football during the Sunday slate?
No. It was literally just almost like a throwback to when George Kittle got 2 touchdowns against the
But throwback to 1 week ago. I don't know if it was 1 week ago, but he did score 2 touchdowns last week.
Yeah, I don't get it. Maybe it's just how Twitter is, X, whatever you want to call it, is populating the feed. But then later I saw it was another highlight from a game that didn't happen that week. So maybe they just need to figure some stuff out.
Maybe their admin is scheduling posts instead of posting them straight, and then they're coming up 3 weeks later.
So
that's interesting to me. No, I have not noticed that, but thank you for bringing that up. And NFL on Twitter, what are you doing?
That's a good point. Let's do one last fan question. Just for is the NFL rigged?
Do you want what I think or what I want to say? No, I'm kidding. No, I don't think it is. But sometimes there's some calls that are so bad that we really think it is. But I think the NFL just needs to like actually make their refs full time.
Yeah, I think that would help. I don't think it's rigged either. I know at times it feels like it might favor one team or this storyline sounds cool, but you can make a storyline out of any game. And kickers suck. And there's no way you could tell Cody Parkey to double doink it. So it's not rigged.
The NFL, I've heard this, and this was the best explanation to why the NFL dominates the media. And it's because of the pacing of their games, where you have that whole entire week post, at least most of the schedule to react. So you in, basketball or baseball or hockey or whatever, you're playing almost every day or 3-4 games a week sometimes, where like you don't really have the pacing of like you have the, ample time to react and then analyze and then preview. But in the NFL you do. So you really get pushed into these storylines and you can break things down a lot more than you can in other sports. And I think that's probably why we're able to dig so deep, and sometimes we can talk ourselves into it looking even more rigged than it even was. And a lot of times it's just either a boneheaded play call, a boneheaded play by a player, or just a ref not seeing something correctly or just completely blowing it.
Yeah, and I know in the comments they're talking about the Giants game yesterday, which stems for it. But we talked about the Giants blowing their fourth 10-point lead. You could question the decision making for sure at the end of the game when you're up 3 to go for it on 4th and goal instead of making them have to score a touchdown. My interpretation of that is they knew the Giants were going to score, or the Lions would score. So if we can go up 2 scores, we essentially ice out the game. We're a 2-win team. I didn't mind that call at all. I know the Eagles are getting upset too about penalties and stuff like that, letting the Cowboys come back in. Like, you can find a storyline or a reason to complain about every game to favor your system. And I think it's a good point you brought up about them, having more time to break it down. We get the replays in super slow-mo right after the instant replays, right after they happen, forgetting that these guys have to make the call in real time. And I continue to say, putting the rules analyst in the booth has been one of my least favorite additions. It makes the anticipation a money draw for the NFL for sure. But I hate going, well, I think that was a penalty. What do you think? Yeah, that should have been a penalty. That only feeds into the fodder when they don't really have a say anyways.
That could be a big reason why over the last 10 to 15 years, when they started adding that, it has seemed even worse than it did previously. And part of me also thinks this goes back to, and I mean, I'm sure it happened before this even, but that completely blown pass interference penalty in the Rams-Saints playoff game.
Yeah, that one was rough.
I mean, that set a whole domino effect that they even made pass interference challengeable for a year. And I think since then it's been even more under, the microscope, to the fact where like now we're so convinced that something's being done on purpose that we're convincing ourselves that it's rigged.
And I think that's a valid point, and I will leave this with everyone before I sign off. Des dropped it. All right. That will be this week's episode of the Couch GMs podcast. Reminder, on Wednesday, we'll be back live. Football, taking a nap, doing whatever you want. We hope you have a great Thanksgiving. We're thankful for you guys for being here, being in the comments, making this show great. If you want to get more involved, check us out on social media at the Couch GMs, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all those good places. I'm Cody Roadcap. That's George Kurt. We'll talk to you all in a couple days.